Alright y'all, today I'm going to tell the story about my journey with Jada. Seems like a lot of people are interested in that, and I can see why. You know, I talk about Jasmine quite a bit.
However, y'all get to talk and see what goes on with Jada, because Jada still lives here. And I have already experienced what I have experienced with Jasmine, therefore I have lots of stories to tell.
With Jada, I felt like I was going to give y'all the background. We were having a discussion about expanding our family, and I'm gonna tell y'all, at that time in my career, I was like so caught up in what Stephanie was doing and how successful I was. It was just to the point that I was content and I was okay with just having one child. And to make light of it, Mr. Long had just asked me, he was like, well, what are you afraid of? And I'm like, I'm afraid that if we don't have a boy, you're gonna ask me to have another baby. And I ain't trying to be having like a bunch of kids. Sorry y'all, that's just me. That was not how Stephanie mapped her life out. However, we all know God works in mysterious ways. And my husband, I remember this day, y'all, we was at Red Lobster sitting in Cary, North Carolina. We were having this discussion, and he asked me, he said, well, I know when you were pregnant with Jasmine, you was praying for a girl. That's what you wanted. He was like, well, why don't you pray just a little bit harder and ask God to bless us with a son? I was like, this man really wants another baby, like, for real. Well, I listened to him, and you know, I had to be the one to make this decision, because ultimately, when you are a military wife, your husband, he goes on training sessions and he gets deployed and stuff like that. And you know, I just did not want to be no single parent. I'm just gonna be honest, okay? Because I had already experienced it when we lived in Hawaii, and you know, we only had one child at the time. So to me, it was like, why mess up a good thing? Well, because I'm considerate of my husband's feelings, Stephanie considered on, okay, let's do it. Now, this is the part that was frustrating for me. Once I decided, okay, let's try to get pregnant.
Y'all know it always happens. Don't nothing happen when you want it to happen.
Y'all, we tried to get pregnant for 9 months. 9 whole months.
Like, we was putting in the work. Best believe that. We was putting in the work. And I can't even tell y'all how many pregnancy tests I took to make sure that we was working on this baby. Okay, we was working on making a baby.
Child, epic fail. And it got to the point where my husband started to see how it was like really like frustrating me. We decided that we were gonna wait, because clearly if we're not getting pregnant, clearly it must not be our time. I just want y'all to remember I said that it wasn't our time. Okay. Fast forward, January of 2000, we got a big snow. Okay, we got like 20 some odd inches in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and I'm gonna tell y'all, they ain't never prepared for snow like that. We snowed in, and when I say literally, we are snowed in for like 2 whole weeks. Can't go nowhere, none of this. Like, we are at the gym, because we lived in an apartment complex that had a fancy gym and all of this, and we just was walking up to the gym every day. That was like our little thing that we did
while we was waiting for the snow to melt and people to come through and plow.
I'll have to say, at 27, this was when I can honestly say I was like in the best shape of my life. Woo! And y'all, when I say y'all, girl, I was looking good. Like, I was lean like a dancer. Like, you still saw my shape, but I was very lean. Like, you could see all my muscle tone, everything, okay?
From January, let's just say to by May, Stephanie was right. Do you hear me?
Okay, so in that year, I had, with my job, we were going to Ireland, and I had went to Ireland, and in the hotel that we were staying in, we were there for 2 whole weeks, y'all. In the 2 weeks that I was there, the housekeeper that was cleaning our room, somehow this lady threw away my birth control, because after we stopped trying, I got back on birth control pills. Well, she threw them away. And let's just say I went to Ireland in September. For 2 whole weeks, I was not on birth control. I come back home. Y'all know the rest. We had to play catch up. And let's just say this. Fast forward to November. Stephanie was at her annual women's wellness appointment, right? And I will never forget this because I was like so cool with my doctor. She was talking to me and, you know, we was just having a discussion about, you know, babies and getting pregnant. And, you know, Stephanie, is this like something you like, you know, you and James, like, are y'all like gonna work on expanding your family? And I'm like, nah, we good. You know, we had just bought a new truck that year, and we was like, you know, since we had a baby, let's just buy a new truck. And that's what we did. And the truck became the new baby. After having this discussion with her, she proceeds to examine me. And on the table, and she was like,
Stephanie, when was your last period? Y'all, for the life of me, that was the one time in my life I can honestly say I didn't recall having one from September to November. Okay.
So I'm sitting there and I'm like,
I said, you know what? When I get up, I have to look at my calendar because I'm not sure.
She was like, okay. She said,
Well, because you feel a little full. My bladder? She was like, no. Your uterus. You feel a little full.
and I'm like,
Well, I ain't scared because, you know.
when I got back home, I started taking my birth control pills again. Well, child, let me just go on and say this. I get up. I go sit down, the doctor comes back in, she asks me to give her a urine sample and all of this, and so I do that. So she walks back in and I'm sitting down, very calmly, I might add. Okay, she was like,
Well, Stephanie.
I was like, yes.
She's like, well, it's funny we had this conversation before the exam. She said, because I have something to tell you.
I'm like, okay. She was like,
You're pregnant.
y'all, for real, it was like time just stopped in a moment, because here it is. When I tell you, when a woman finds out she's pregnant and it's like unexpectedly, okay, it's like everything around you stops and you are just sitting there in the moment. And this time I'm married when I found out I'm pregnant. I'm married. We both doing good in our careers, and you know, we just flourishing, okay? Child, I sat there, and if I was not sitting down, y'all, I'm not gonna lie, Stephanie would have passed out.
Because that's how shocked I was. Like, I had the state of shock was written all on my face.
And y'all know I'm somebody who I wear my emotions on my face, okay?
Child, she was like, Stephanie, are you gonna be all right?
I'm like, yes, I'm just trying to absorb this, because I'm like, how and when did this happen?
Now, did I just ask the doctor how? Like, really? We know how it happened. Well, I kind of knew when, too.
Because when I looked at my calendar, y'all, yes, I had missed my period and didn't even know it. So now that I'm sitting here and like she's like concerned, and she's like,
well, do you want to call your husband and like, you know, because you just like really seem like really shocked.
and I am, well, I am. We have been trying to have a baby, y'all, for 9 months, and then all of a sudden Stephanie pops up pregnant. Well, I'm like, I'm gonna be all right. So y'all, I leave the doctor's office, and then as I'm getting in the truck, James calls me, and he was like, you know, what's up? And you know, he was just like, he just got on the phone and he just instantly started venting.
Y'all husbands do that to y'all? Mine do. Like, he just jumped right in. He ain't got to say ready, set, go. He just jumps in.
And that's what he did that particular day. He was going off about one of his soldiers or something like that. And so I'm just like driving on my way home, and he was at the house now. Driving, listening to him, still in shock. So he was like, you just left the doctor's office. He was like, how did that go? And I was like,
oh, I was like, everything's good. By the way, we pregnant. This man,
he was like,
Hold up. Stop playing.
he was like,
Are you serious?
I'm like, I'm as serious as a heart attack, okay?
he was like,
Where are you?
I was like, actually, I'm at the gate, trying to enter. And he was like, I'm gonna meet you downstairs. Y'all, when I pulled up to the apartment building, this man literally was he was waiting for me at the bottom of the staircase. When I pulled the truck around the corner, he met me at the parking lot spot, and he was like,
Steph, look me in my eyes and tell me you're not playing.
And I'm like, I'm not. I'm pregnant. I'm like 5-6 weeks pregnant.
and oh my God, y'all, he just grabs me, he hugs me. He was like elated, okay? Elated. And I was too now. I'm still taking it in. I'm still soaking it up, because now, what you think happens when you find out you're pregnant unexpectedly? It's one thing to plan a pregnancy or to plan, you know, family planning and all of this, but honey, it's another thing when it just creeps up on you. He all of a sudden turned into like extra protective mode. Okay, you sure you want to walk up the stairs? Yes, James, I can walk up the stairs. Y'all, I'm still in the size 3-4. Like, I wasn't gaining no weight or anything, so it was just like, wow, like I'm pregnant. And so we got upstairs and me and him talking, and so we decided to tell Jasmine, because Jasmine had been like harassing me about her getting a sibling. And we tell Jasmine is like all excited, and Jasmine was like,
I want a sister.
well, James was like, no, like, hold up. We want a brother, right? Jasmine was like, no, I want a sister. Now, keep in mind, Jasmine like 6 years old, and like, she want what she want. And she was like, Mommy, can you make sure it's a girl? And I'm like, no, your daddy is responsible for that, not I. We had decided that we were going to wait before we told anybody, because we wanted to make sure everything was going to be, you know, good, you know?
Well, that didn't last, y'all. That lasted like for an hour.
And then so my friend D, she had called me and she was talking to me, and
I can't hold water. When it's a secret, and it's a good secret, y'all, I can't hold water. I really can't.
so I'm talking to D and I'm like, guess what? And she was like, what?
I keep in mind, y'all, this is my best friend at the time. So it's like, really, could I like hold anything from her? No.
So she talking to me, and then I tell her I'm pregnant. She is just like elated with me. And y'all, when I say like we match each other's like extraness, yes, we do. We get hype and, you know, just like really be really happy for one another with good stuff. I'm like telling her, so now because I done told her, we got to tell everybody now. So we called my mama, we told my mom, we called James's dad, we told him, and just as the family members started calling, yep, by the end of the night, everybody knew. So let me just fast forward with y'all. Throughout my pregnancy with Jada, Steph stayed fly. I was on a mission, y'all. I'm on a mission that I'm gonna be a fly pregnant chick, okay? No doubts. Well, it wasn't hard, I ain't gonna lie, because early on in the pregnancy, Stephanie just wore a lot of, you know, bigger things, because I was so small at the time. You know, it didn't matter. By the time I got to 7 months, y'all, I was still small, all right? Still small, until we took the trip to Florida, and I had 2 baby showers for Jada. I had one with my family in Florida, and then my friends D'Amica and Dee, they both threw me a baby shower, a very bougie baby shower, okay, in North Carolina. Well, long story short, Stephanie went to Miami, and I don't know, y'all, I think it was the sitting in the car for like 12-13 hours for that trip. Y'all, it's like when I got back home, it's like I went from I just blew up. I looked like a freaking Oompa Loompa. I am not gonna lie. Y'all booty was so big. Like literally, you could have pulled up a chair, sat down, and ate dinner on my butt. That's how big it was. How these girls be doing like all these injections and stuff right now. Stephanie, I ain't even need to do that, okay? I already had it. Long story short, is we went to go do the visit for it so that Jasmine could get familiar with the maternity ward, the floor, and what happens when, you know, mommy has a baby and all of this. Well, we ran into my doctor while we were there. The doctor sees me and she's like,
Stephanie, she was like, how you doing?
And I'm like, I'm great. And she was like,
you don't look great.
Now y'all, that was one day I really was feeling like good, okay? And she killed me